All right, so we are ready to begin tonight. So thank you all so very much for being here. I know that these evenings are big time commitments for you all at a stressful time of the semester, so I really do appreciate it that you're taking your time out of your schedule to be here and supporting your classmates and presenting. And I especially want to thank Lauren, who has been fabulous all semester, but especially this week while we've been doing these presentations. Lauren is here every night, so whereas you all have to be here just twice, Lauren is here every night. So I really appreciate it, and I know she's been helping you all a lot, so let's give Lauren a really quiet but rousing round of applause. So thank you so very much, Lauren. What we are going to be doing tonight is having 6 presenters, and I will say that all 6 of these people got me their materials way ahead of time, so I appreciate every single one of you. You all showed up to the kind of prep session on time, and so I didn't have a heart attack even once tonight. So I really appreciate it, and I'm anticipating that this is going to be a very smooth evening. So thank you all very much. We're going to have Nick, Denise, then Kevin, then we're going to take a 5-minute break, then we'll have Gloria, then Judy, and then Pamela for the last session of the night. So we are going to try to clip along pretty quickly between sessions, so we're just going to clap for one person and move right on to the next person. So I just have a few things that I want to mention to you. Please remember that you are going to be sending feedback messages through the Google Forms, and I'll review how to get to that at the very end of the session. And you will need to take notes so that you can be specific with your feedback. We're not going to give feedback that's just like, great job, I really enjoyed it, and then that's the level of specificity. I do want you to be more specific, giving 2 things the person did well and 1 suggestion that the person might keep in mind for the next time he or she is teaching a class. Remember that the session is recorded, and people may be using the session for, let's say, their e-portfolio or for a job dossier or some such thing. And so if you are uncomfortable with having your full name in the participants window, feel free to log out and log back in just with your first name. If you choose to stay in with your full name, you are giving implicit consent for your classmates to use the recording in one of those manners. And then a couple of just reminders. Keep in mind that if you write on the whiteboard, everyone can see it, and so if the presenter has asked you to do so, you absolutely should and do so enthusiastically. But if the presenter has not asked you to do so, please refrain from doing so, because that can be quite disruptive if all of a sudden something shows up on the slide. Also, if you write in the chat window, even if it's a private message to one other student, keep in mind that the presenter and that basically all the moderators can see that. So Lauren and I and the presenter would be able to see it. And because it is distracting, or it may be distracting to the presenter, I'm going to ask that you refrain from doing so, so that we don't distract the presenter. Obviously, if the presenter asks you to write in the chat window, then please, enthusiastically do so. I would also ask that you use emoticons so that people who are presenting know that they're not just talking to the computer, that we all are out here listening and eager and laughing at their jokes and so forth. So please do use those emoticons. I think they tend to be helpful and not distracting. And so without further ado, I think that I'm going to turn things over to Nick, and let me pull up Nick's slides. Hold on just a second, please. And Nick, whenever you're ready, you can take the mic.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Hello, everyone. I just want to start out with a real quick backup, of background of what's going on. You all are college freshmen. You're in the world history class, entry level, but it could be any class that we've kind of tried to integrate this in with library instruction and orientation going on through that. If you could kind of pretend that you've watched a short video on keyword searching as like a prep, because I'm kind of running this as a flipped classroom, so you've done that prep work, so we can just kind of jump in. And also, if you happen to think of any sort of research topic, it could be for history, but it could be anything, because it'll work for anything. That would be great, because I will need a volunteer with a topic at one point. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. Hello, everyone, again. It's good to see you all back here. Thanks again for coming. I know it's been a long day for everyone. So I really appreciate it. But don't worry, this hopefully will be a short and fun session. Everyone's mic is working okay. Everyone can hear me. Maybe give me a smiley if all's good that way. Okay, great. And definitely you can type in the text box. You can grab the mic at any time. If you have any questions, just feel free to interrupt me. It's not a problem at all. So hopefully everyone was able to watch that keyword video. Because, right, everyone's good with that? Okay, because that's what we're doing today. We're doing keyword searching. Everything keywords. And even if you didn't watch that video, it's okay, because the first thing we're going to do, pretty much anyone can do. And I'll, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll give refreshers, as we go along. So let's jump right into what we're going to be doing. Okay, so here is this great pic. But you're probably thinking, what does this really have to do with keywords? Well, I found this pic on Flickr. And everyone kind of knows Flickr, right? Yeah, okay. And so Flickr uses tags, and everyone has kind of used tags at some point. So what I'm saying is tags are very, very similar to keywords in that they're both terms that represent what something is about. So basically what I want you all to do with this picture is I want you to tag it. I want you to just jump right in. You can shout them out. I can write them in for you. You can write them in the box, type them in, use your highlighter, marker, whatever you want to do. You can give encouragement, to other people, let's just get a feel in there. Yeah, tequila, poker. And, while you're putting these in, think about, synonyms, similar phrases. If we've got one, maybe think of something that means the other thing so that, just in case they didn't use that one tag, we can try another one maybe. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Any more? Maybe like one more can fill in there. It is Cinco de Mayo, that's right. Okay. That looks good. You all did really great. So what I want to do now is try something. Can you all open up a browser on your own? Not, within, Collaborate. I'm not going to do a web tour or anything, but just have like a browser open. And then raise your hand once you've got that browser open. Awesome. You guys are. Jana, you okay, or Louise, or?
Jana actually is just testing her connection, so just move on without.
Okay.
And Louise is just a double. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No worries. Okay. All right. Now what I want you all to do is we're going to take these tags that you all came up with, and I want you to see if you could go to Flickr and find that picture. And the first two students to paste the URL of that picture in the chat box, they get a prize. Is everyone okay with that? Hopefully that means everyone's busy, typing and searching. All right, Kevin's got one. All right, let's give that a... Okay, all right, now I'm going to try Snapshot going over there. Let's see. Let's take a look and see what we've got. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, let's see who was next. So, and Gloria was next. Okay, and that why everyone's still posting stuff in there. It looks great. It looks like Kevin and Gloria got it. So they are the proud owners of a $15 gift card to Starbucks. Yeah, that's pretty good. So, all right, and now let's go to the next slide and see. So these are the tags that were there. And you know what? I'm really sorry I forgot to ask my assistants to grab stuff off that, but they're awesome that they were able to get that really quickly and put that in there. So let's take a look at, so we've got the real tags here, and then we've got the tags that everyone came up with. So maybe we can just take a real quick look and see, like, compare them and see, you know, like, how does it compare? I mean, we've got, let's see, how many did we anticipate here? We've got tequila, poker, and, you know, if anyone wants to shout out stuff too, you know, I'm fine with that too. Dog, of course. Alcoholic, that's close to alcohol. You know, not a puppy in there. Are there any that you like kind of disagree with in there? I know there's not a ton in there, but you know. But if not, I mean, it looks like you did a pretty decent job at, you know, pulling that stuff up. So let's take a minute and step back and think about how that ties in with keywords. So basically, you know, what are keywords? They're informative words that you use for searching. So they describe the content and concepts of something. And why do you want to use them? Well, because like computers don't really get the concepts behind those words yet. I mean, when you type in stuff, they just kind of see like a string of characters and they just go for that. You know, they're not really going to understand what you're asking for. So why do I use the dog pic? I mean, what does tagging have to do with keywords? Well, I mean, one, I did it to kind of grab y'all's attention. But basically, tagging a pic is like constructing a keyword list for your search. You can apply those keyword concepts to anything. You know, and you can put it on any site, like Flickr, Tumblr, Google, or even a library database. Does that kind of make sense? Give me like a thumbs up or a smiley. Okay, good. All right, so basically what I'd like to do tonight is to really get into the meat of your research topics. So I'm going to tag your research topics, or basically make a keyword list for them to help you out, you know, get you started. So basically, let's look at the steps for making a keyword list. All right, you all have nailed number one, hopefully, right? I mean, you've got your research topic already. You know what it's about. So now we want to work on identifying the major concepts, like elements in your topic, and then we want to come up with words that describe those major concepts. Then you want to use those keywords and phrases when you're searching databases. So just like it'll work when you put in those tags into Flickr, roughly that same principle is going to work for library databases. And there are reasons for using the library database instead of Google, but we'll get into those in a session or two from now. So don't worry about that for now. All right, so that's enough of me talking again. Let's try tagging one of y'all's research topics and see what keywords we can come up with. If you guys raise your hand, maybe like the first person can do like a keyword search when you get ready to start with their topic. And if nobody has like their topic or they're kind of shy about it, okay. All right, Darren, are you good? If you want, you can just type it right in that big box at the top there. All right, awesome. Let's put that up in there. Huh. Sorry about that. Let's get that rolling here. Okay. Okay, I think I spelled that right. Yeah, so all right. If you guys can just do the same thing, the exact same thing like we did when we were tagging that picture, and maybe start putting in some keywords on this. It's good to volunteer, Derek, because basically everyone's going to be kind of doing your work for you on this. You can, you know, get some keywords for you, get you started on that. And remember, you know, think about synonyms, maybe other concepts that go along with it. same like cannabis is good because that's like another word, for that. Pot, narcotics, drug policy. Anything else that you guys can think of? We get a couple more, and then maybe we can give it a go. And remember, you want to kind of steer clear of generic, like broad terms, but because you want them to be kind of unique to your topic. But definitely want to have a couple because that way, if the first one doesn't work out, you can kind of plug in the next one. So. Okay. All right. Darren, are you up to, thank you for volunteering your topic. Are you up for actually taking over and searching in a database for that? Give me like a thumbs up or
yeah, so
like
I can do that. So I use these keywords now and search in a database?
Yeah. So let's see, maybe we should, actually I didn't think that through. Maybe we want to like copy them down, or I can copy them down real quick so we can give you a heads up, when we run over to type them in. So there's one thing that...
I can type them real quick. I'll do it.
Yeah. And either way, I've got a bunch too that I can kind of relay to you. We'll work this out that way.
And Nick, we can help you out as well.
When you're ready. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. So, all right, I'm going to give you, what I'm going to do is first pull this up. Wow. Okay, for some reason this elevated privileges box is massively huge, and I cannot. Well, let's see that.
Is there a yellow line around the outside? Oh, you were able to get it. Okay.
Now there's, yeah. For some reason, it had like a permissions notification come up first. It was this huge rectangle, and I couldn't click the OK, so I just hit enter. No, it's okay. Now we're running, so. And I didn't have it up because, unfortunately, sometimes it's good with the library site, but it'll time you out if you're not using that. So let me see if I can go over and give Darren control. Okay, so Darren, you should have control of my desktop now. Let's see. Yeah, not that one. Sorry, I had that one up, but yeah, it's the one behind it right there. If you can click on that one and then, yeah, there you go. So if you want to grab and put in some of those keywords,
do you want to put them all in one box?
Yeah, just put them in one box to start out with. We'll start out easy and then see, how much time we've got. Which I think we're actually getting close to wrapping up. So we'll try this one really quick. That's a good one. Let's try that one and see what happens. So you got 9 results, which is pretty decent. So if we want more, I guess we got to take some away, right? Because I think the assignment that Professor Mulcahy wanted you to do, he wants you to get maybe about 10 to 15. So maybe we can try like a different combination.
Okay, I'll take out 2.
Okay. Yeah, that should probably be right. Because remember, the more you put in, the more it narrows that stuff down. That's a lot though. So let's see, maybe another one that we could say, maybe just pop in like DEA and then see. I don't know.
Or how about medicine or health or something?
Yeah, try medicine. See if that. Everyone's very quiet tonight. Hopefully they're all right. You guys are doing okay? All right, thanks. That's good. So we got 780. So we started off really well with a lot of relevant stuff, but now we're doing this. So let's see, is there anything else we could maybe want to try, like some quotations, maybe like make a keyword phrase around that? Or they kind of went over that in the video, but just kind of quickly. We'll try that one, and then we'll see what that does, and then we'll kind of wrap things up for tonight, because I know you guys are getting, well, maybe it doesn't like that single quote there. I don't know.
Or maybe I misspelled it or something.
Yeah, it's all right. I wouldn't worry about it. So, all right, let me get control back over. Thanks a lot for doing that. That really helped out. Let me get back over. And let's wrap this up really quickly. I think you all did really well. I mean, let's take a look. I mean, you learned what keywords are, hopefully. I think you did. You learned how to make a keyword list, and we searched the library database using keywords and keyword phrases. And we got a lot of results from that, and kind of narrowed it down a little bit. So not too bad. You just got to remember, the more keywords that you use, the fewer the results. That's a good thing. I mean, that's what your professor is looking for. Let's see. Let's go over real quickly what you all are going to be doing later on. So basically, you're going to be using the skills that you learned tonight to come up with about 10 to 15 relevant results for your topic through a keyword search using the library database. You're going to want to watch the video on how to save your results, and then you're going to want to watch the one on advanced keyword searching. So that's what we're going to get into with the next lesson, is that and Boolean logic. Real quick, actually, let me pop in a link in the chat box there. This is for a handout. It's kind of like a review overview, of what we went over tonight, so you can kind of use it as a guide or a cheat sheet. It's also got, contact info in case you have any questions, and it'll have links for the 2 vids that you're going to watch for next week. But really, I want to thank you guys again. I think you did really well. I appreciated all the brainstorming and the group tagging and coming up with keywords. I think you were pretty successful at coming up with stuff on that, coming up with keywords and strategies. It was all you, all your stuff, and hopefully it got you started thinking on your own research topics. And I think that should be good, right?
Great, thank you, Nick. And let's give Nick a round of applause, please. And I think those were people who were trying to give him a round of applause and raised hands instead. So thank you all very much for that session, and let us move to our next person, who is Denise. Let me get you up. Excuse me, I just grabbed the wrong thing. Okay, and Denise, where are you? There you are. Okay, whenever you're ready, Denise, you can go ahead and take the mic. Okay, hi everyone. Before we get started, I would like you to imagine that you are first-year undergraduate students. You're enrolled in an introductory modern art history survey course with little to no knowledge about the differences between peer-reviewed and popular journals. The professor has assigned you to compile a bibliography on an artist that you will later add to your 10-page research paper. You will be required to consult and cite popular and peer-reviewed sources on your topic. It is assumed that you are unfamiliar on how to identify authoritative resources, and the professor and I are working together in a course-integrated instruction class to help you succeed in the research process. Okay, let's get started. Hello everyone, my name is Denise Dudley, and I'm the art librarian here at the university to assist you in differentiating between peer-reviewed and popular journals as you prepare your research paper for Professor Honda's Introduction to Modern Art History class. She is requiring that you find 3 popular and 3 peer-reviewed journals on an artist for your 10-page research paper due at the end of the semester. And you and I have been meeting 1 day a week for the last 2 weeks. And last week we covered how to conduct an advanced search in the library's online catalog, reviewed subject headings, and learned how to retrieve materials from the library, whether it's through the online catalog or through one of the databases. Before we dive into the lesson, please give me a smiley face if you can hear me.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, moving forward. Differentiating between peer-reviewed and popular journals allows you to discern authoritative and reliable journals that have gone through a rigorous review process before they are published, as opposed to a publication intended for a broader audience. This knowledge will help you to become acquainted with the qualities of peer-reviewed and popular titles in our history. And you can apply this knowledge in other courses where you are required to find and locate authoritative sources in the research process. And also, you will be able to apply this information outside the classroom when you want to evaluate sources and their authority on topics such as health, education, or psychology. And I would like for you all to think about your own personal experiences with peer-reviewed and popular journals based on your previous research in other classes at the university or in high school. It's likely that you have unknowingly used peer-reviewed journals or used articles found in peer-reviewed journals that were not peer-reviewed. So, do you feel confident differentiating between popular and peer-reviewed journals and are ready to dive into the research process like this photograph by Jacques-Henri Latique? Or does the prospect of locating and evaluating journals make you want to scream like Edvard Munch's The Scream? Okay, all right, so, all right, well, have no fear. Oops. By the end of the lesson, your confidence in evaluating sources will increase. And before we go along, I would like for you to take the laser pointer tool located to the left and let me know what your knowledge and rate your knowledge of peer-reviewed and popular sources. Don't worry about having the right answer. It's all anonymous and we're here to learn. Okay. I see some people can differentiate, some people need clarification, someone's not really sure, and someone needs a little more clarification. Okay, thank you so much. So, don't scream, you will become experts and be on your way to evaluating sources effectively and efficiently. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So in today's lesson, we will cover the following: define popular and peer-reviewed journals, evaluate popular and peer-reviewed journals for their authority and validity, identify which online resources provide popular and peer-reviewed articles related to the field of art history. So please feel free to ask questions during the session by raising your hand or entering in the chat window, and I would like for you to not be afraid to ask questions, because the question you are asking could be one that another student is thinking about. So let's move on. So why do we need to know the differences between popular and peer-reviewed journals? Well, they serve different audiences and undergo different review processes. It's important to evaluate journals based on their timeliness, authority, and validity, which help you form and support your ideas about your research topic. In addition, you will become familiar with experts in the field that you may see in other scholarly publications. So, popular art journals such as Art News, Art in America, and Art Newspaper, and also the art section of the New York Times, are mass-produced publications written for a broad audience. Think about popular magazines that you are already familiar with and read regularly, such as Vogue, Time, or National Geographic. So what I would like for you to do is take the text tool again and tell me what characteristics about the magazine's content would make it popular. Right, written for a broad audience, easy to read. Fluffy or fluff. Not much to it. Advertisements, yeah. Lots of pictures. Good. Informal. The language is informal. News. Okay, these are really great. So thank you guys. So now what about peer-reviewed journals? Think about what comes to mind when you hear the words peer-reviewed. Using the text tool again, can you tell me how peer-reviewed journals are different or opposite from the popular journals that you listed? Dry. Very, yeah. Written by professionals, bigger vocabulary, scholarly, research-based. Very good. Hardcore writing. These are really great. Good. All right. Thank you, guys. So I think you're on your way here. Include abstracts. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's move on to some guidelines to differentiate between popular and peer-reviewed articles. So articles published in popular journals can either be written by journalists or experts in the field. The articles submitted have a quick turnaround time for publication. They typically have a title, the author's name, maybe a citation, and use vocabulary that is accessible to a broad audience, as you guys previously mentioned, and have considerable amount of advertisements. There is an editorial review process. However, popular journals do not go through a rigorous editorial process where experts in the field review each article before publication. So a peer-reviewed journal is a publication that is written by experts in their field and reviewed by their peers. An analogy is to think back to high school when you were assigned a research topic that you presented to your classmates and elicited feedback from your peers. Peer-reviewed journals are similar, where experts, in our case, art historians like professors, curators, doctoral candidates, write on topics in their specialized field and include either references or a bibliography. And in addition, they're usually published by peer-reviewed. The journals are published by university presses such as Oxford, MIT Press, or Taylor and Francis. In addition, you need to look for if the publication provides the author's credentials. Do the articles include complex language? Are members of the editorial board affiliated with an academic institution? Now, there are some gray areas of peer-reviewed journals you need to be aware of, and that is not all the articles published are peer-reviewed. Keep in mind that book and gallery reviews are not peer-reviewed articles because they are expressing opinions about a source or an event. However, gallery reviews may provide insight about the artist you are searching, and book reviews may direct you to other authoritative texts. Are there any questions so far? Okay, great, thank you. Let's move on. For your assignment, there are several databases that you can use to find peer-reviewed and popular journals, such as Artful Text, JSTOR, and Art Bibliographies Modern, that are available to you on campus or off-site. In addition, there's an online periodical reference guide I want to direct you to called Ulrichs, which will let you know if a journal is peer-reviewed if your search results provide you with this icon. It's basically a refereed, to let you know it's refereed or not, and it's like a jersey. So you can also ask your professor or ask a librarian. So let's test your knowledge. As an exercise, let's find some popular and peer-reviewed articles in Artful Text to get you acquainted with 2 publication sources we are covering. The concepts I will be demonstrating here are applicable to any of the subject databases available to you as a student. So for my search example, I'm interested in Alexander Calder and sculpture. So just plug that in. And from the results page, our search retrieved both popular and peer-reviewed. In order to determine whether the article is applicable to your research, you can select or hover over the magnifying glass here, as noted. And also you can filter it by scholarly journals over here. So from my list of search results, I have here an abstract that I'd like for you to look at, and either by looking at your handout or reading it online here, can you tell me why it would be considered peer-reviewed? You can either type in the chat or take the mic.
It's published at the Oxford University Press.
Yeah, correct. Anything else? Yeah, right, Darren. The language is formal, and it's also providing some contextual analysis about Calder's mobiles and a little bit more about middle-class taste if you were researching that area, and about commercialization, consumer products. Okay, yeah, and it's an essay. It's an essay that will direct you to knowing that if that's something you want to research more about. Right, it's longer than a popular article. Yeah, Darren, thank you. So also, I would like to just mention briefly that in order to organize your citations, you want to print or email them to you. So that's so you can keep track of them and add them to your paper if the article is something you're interested in. And also make sure you select the Chicago Manual style type, because that's what Professor Honda would like for you to use. Okay. So here's another example of a popular journal article. So again, just reading the abstract, and either here on the whiteboard or in the handout, can you tell me if it's scholarly or is it popular? And what about some of the, is it discussing an exhibition? Yes, it's more of an opinion. Right, thank you, Nick. And it's mostly biographical. Thanks, Darren. And it's kind of like reviewing about also the time period between 1926 and 1933. Yeah, thanks, Catherine. It's a review of sorts. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So I have another article for you to review, and it's from a peer-reviewed journal, but read the abstract and let me know if this is either peer-reviewed or would it be something else. Right. Thank you, Kevin. It's a book review, which doesn't make it peer-reviewed because it's opinion. Right, Michelle? It's a book review. Yes. Okay. I think you guys are on your way and can differentiate the difference between popular and peer-reviewed journals and where to locate them for your assignment. So the main takeaway from this lesson was to define popular and peer-reviewed journals, evaluate popular and peer-reviewed journals for authority and validity, and identify which online resources provide popular and peer-reviewed articles related to the field of art history. So next week, we will discuss how to create an annotated bibliography with your results. Remember, you need to find 3 popular and 3 peer-reviewed articles. Any final questions before we break? Are you guys good? Let me see a smiley face, please. Thank you. Okay. All right. If you have any questions, you can reach me via email, telephone, or visit me during my office hours. I'm available every Wednesday from 2 to 3 in the Art Library office, room number 101, or by appointment. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Denise. You did a great job. Let's give Denise a round of applause here. And our next person is going to be Kevin. And after Kevin, then we're going to have a very short break. So let me just pull up Kevin's slides. And where are you, Kevin? There you are. Hold on just a second, please, Kevin.
Okay.
Okay. Kevin, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and take the mic.
Okay, I've got the mic. I'm hoping all of you can hear me. All you really need to know about this is that you're college students in a fairly general sort of library instruction, information literacy course of some sort. So with that little introduction, we'll start. Hi, welcome to tonight's library instruction session, Rediscovering the Lost Art of Subject Searching, Finding What You Really Need in the Library. My name is Kevin Enzrempel. I'm part of the library staff, and I'll be leading tonight's session. Now, in previous sessions, we've learned the basics of using the library's online catalog. Tonight, we're going to go a bit deeper. We're going to learn more about what happens when you do an online library search, and learn one important technique for making those searches really work well. So first, an overview of this evening's objectives. By the end of this session, you should be able to describe the difference between keyword searching and subject term searching in the library catalog. Now, keyword and subject and tags, those words get used a lot in different contexts. They don't always mean quite the same thing. Tonight we're talking about what those mean in the library catalog context. Secondly, you should be able to find subject terms in the library catalog and use them to find the most relevant results. So most people, when they approach a library catalog today, use a technique that we call keyword searching. They simply enter into the computer a word or words that they think is appropriate. It's a lot like doing the Google search on the internet. And in response, the computer simply looks for those words and gives back a list of all the items that contain them. So what does that mean? What does a keyword search really do? So I've got a 2-column chart here. On the left are some types of data that are contained within a library items record. And so if you could grab your object tool and grab one of those items and move it over to the right side, if you think that it would be included in a keyword search. So when you type those words into the library box, is it searching the author? Somebody thinks it is. Okay, so far so good. Okay, and of course this will differ depending on what system you're working in. In our catalog, I'll move it over here, the publisher is also included. The only one that's not is the number of pages. And that's not entirely surprising because that's not a terribly useful thing to search on. So the point I'm trying to make here is that a keyword search really searches all over the place. What we learned from this little exercise is that a keyword search is a very broad thing indeed. And that could be a good thing or maybe not such a good thing, depending on your perspective. And we'll look into that a little bit here as we go. So what are the advantages of keyword searching? Well, they're really easy to do. You don't have to know any specialized terminology or language. Almost any reasonable word will do. I mean, if you pick a decent word, you will probably get results, especially from a large academic library catalog. And as we just saw from that last screen, keywords cast a very wide net. They usually give you lots of results. And of course, at first glance, we think, oh, lots of results, that's what we want. Well, maybe. So if we move down to the disadvantages of keyword searching, you can get too many results. And keyword searches sometimes do that because of that wide net they're casting. And secondly, the results aren't always necessarily relevant. Maybe because you picked a word that has multiple meanings. So if you type the word mercury into a keyword search, you'll get information about the element, the planet, the Roman deity, the space program, the automobile, and probably several other things. Now, yes, you could add keywords to that and narrow your search that way, but it can be difficult to really focus your search when using keywords. They're trickier than you'd think. So up here at the top, I said they were easy to do, but they can also be harder than you think. And then finally, the disadvantage of keyword searching. Yes, those words do appear in the record. But does that really mean that the record that you get in your results list is about the topic you're looking for? And that's a distinction that I really want to emphasize here tonight. The difference between containing words and being about a topic. So what alternative is there to keyword searching? One of the best is subject term searching. Now, most libraries have what's called a subject field. You remember on that chart a few screens ago, that was one of the options, and someone grabbed it and moved it over because, in fact, it's included in a keyword search. But you can also limit yourself to that. You can do an advanced search, and we'll look at this in a little bit, that would include only words found in the subject field. Now, how do subject words differ from any other keyword? Well, one way is that someone actually made a conscious decision. In fact, not just anyone, a trained cataloger usually made a decision after looking at that item to say, this is what it's about. And they usually use some form of standardized terminology to use those so that their words are consistent from one record to the next. So once you understand subject terms, you can sort of count on them being consistent. Now, subject term searching is a very powerful tool, but it's one that's largely been forgotten by many library users today. You may have noticed I called it a lost art in the title of this lesson. So what do I mean by that? Why is it a lost art? Well, in the past, subject searching was generally better understood. It was more widely used than today, not because people used to be smarter or more sophisticated or better trained, but because they had no choice. So can anyone in the chat box tell us what library tool was most responsible for forcing people, once upon a time, to use and at least somewhat understand subject terms? Indeed, Michelle does know what this tool is. It was the card catalog. Now, quick poll. Raise your hand if you, in your past, have actually used card catalogs in some significant way. Now, stepping out of character just for a moment, if I was really doing this presentation to college freshmen or sophomores, there wouldn't be so many people raising their hands. But because I know I've talked to a few here at our school and they don't all know what this tool is. But the card catalog really did make you engage with subject headings because there were only 3 access points. You could search by author, you could search by title, or you could search by subject. Keyword searching didn't exist. There was no way to do it. Now, I don't miss those days in the least, but the dominance of the keyword search in libraries today means that many library users have forgotten or maybe never even learned the power of subject term searching. So the advantages of subject searching: they help you find very relevant results. They give you fewer irrelevant results. And in part that's because they're telling you, they're based on the concept of what is this item about. Because you're searching terms that a cataloger has actually assigned to that item rather than words that simply appear somewhere in the record and might or might not actually be relevant to aboutness, if that's a word. So there's some real advantages to subject searching. There is also one big disadvantage. Because they are based on a predetermined set of words, what librarians call controlled vocabulary, you might not know the right word. And if you just put any old word in a subject field, you might not get any results because you just happen to pick the wrong one. Well, that's kind of a problem. What good is this if we don't know how to use it? So how do we crack the code? Well, ironically, you can start by doing exactly what I told you we're going to try and get past, a keyword search. So here's another chance to practice. I've got 2 columns here. One of them is the category that I'm calling people who have lived a very long time. And the other one is places where people live. So if you can grab your text tools, obviously those aren't very good terms to search on, and I chose them intentionally because they're really not. What terms might you use? Well, what words would you enter into a library catalog if you were looking for this category, people who have lived a very long time? Okay. Old people. And go ahead and go on the right side as well. Places where people live. What are better search terms for that category? Okay, we're getting some good ideas. Okay, so there's a lot of terms that we could possibly use there to search on. Now, I'm going to be a little dictatorial here tonight, and I'm going to select the ones that work best for my purposes. So my apologies, but that's just the way it's going to be. So let's say out of this list, we decided that old people was the best term for us to use for this first category, and housing was a good generic term to use for places where people live. So if we go to the library catalog, and here's the URL for the library catalog right here, and we do a keyword search on those 3 words, old people housing, and see what we get. We click submit. Let me grab my pointer tool here so I've got something to point with. And here we get a results list of things that match the keyword search old people housing. Now, lost my place here. So if we browse that list, we'll likely find something that we see is appropriate to what we were trying to find. Now, most of these items, environmental gerontology, the futures of old age, those are clearly about old people, not clear that they're really about housing. So I'm not sure those are really what we're after. Seniors Housing and Care Journal, that's pretty good. Readings in Gerontological Nursing, again, where's the housing? Issues in the Economics of Aging, well, maybe somewhere in there there's housing. Experience of old age. Oh wait, look at this one at the bottom. Housing and Social Services for the Elderly, Social Policy Trends. That looks pretty good. So, on that title, it opens up a detailed record for that item in the list. And I apologize that this text may be a little bit blurry, but if you squint, I think you can read it. So what we see here is a detailed record. It's got the author, the title, the description. Now, there's also subjects. Now, in the chat box, can anybody type in the subject that comes closest to what we thought might have been the right one? We said old people housing. Okay, yeah, Darren's got older people dwellings. Now, and old age homes actually could be useful as well. You don't have to limit yourself to one. Now, it's older people dwellings United States here typically. You could use the United States part if you wanted to or not. So that's the first interesting thing we've discovered. We were close. Old people, that's actually really older people. And housing, well, no, it's dwellings. Now, how could we possibly have known that? I mean, hardly seems fair. Well, we now do know it. We used this technique and we've discovered, oh, those are the proper terms. So how do we turn that information into a subject term search? You can simply click on that item. So if this were an actual functioning website, you'd click on older people dwellings United States. And here's what you would get. Now, this isn't a list of items. This is actually a list of the subject headings in the library catalog. And in this case, I took off United States in order to give us a little more complete list. So this is the list of all subjects that begin with older people dwellings. You can see that some of them are narrowed down by geographic area, some by type of resource, but they all have something to do with dwellings for older people. And then let's say we decide, okay, older people dwellings, the most generic one on the list is where we want to start. So if we click on that, we now get item results for that subject search. So what the system has done now is said, okay, we know you're searching subjects, so that's all we're going to look at. Doesn't matter if those words appear somewhere else in the record, we're looking for subjects. Now look at the list. Congregate housing for older people. Housing for the elderly, livable communities for an aging population, senior co-housing, elderly subsistence hotel dwellers. Everything on this list is really about the subject we were looking for. It's not just that those words appear, we've really zeroed in on very relevant results here. Now, if we go back again, we did the top one right here, but maybe we should try this older people dwelling in the United States. Let's say we were interested in things here close to home. So if we click on that item on the list, we get a very short list, but again, look at what we've got. Elderly people and the environment, well, that probably includes housing. Housing and social services for the elderly, that's the one that actually started us on this little journey. And a place to live in your later years. So, to summarize, what you've just seen here is a very quick and fairly easy way of using subject searching in a library, which is a very powerful alternative to basic keyword searching. How do we do it? Well, start with a keyword search. Use your best guess for the right term. Once you get that item list back, pick something off the list that looks promising. If it doesn't give you much, go back and try a different item on the list. In fact, you'll probably want to try several no matter what you do. Then look at the list of subjects for that record by clicking on the title to open up the detailed information. Look at the list of subjects and see what they actually are. Pick one or preferably more of them, and then do an advanced subject search on that phrase. So more information is available. We have library guides on our library website at the URL found here. They have lots of helpful information on this topic. If you search on Getting Beyond the Keyword, you'll find a nice library guide that basically reviews the content of this lesson. And we're available to help. There are very nice librarians ready and willing to help. Stop by the reference desk, give us a call, email us, chat on the library webpage. We're happy to help. So thanks very much for your attention. I look forward to seeing you in the library.
Thank you, Kevin, for a great session. And I'm sorry that we all got out of character there for a minute. I was so excited to talk about the card catalog that I just lost my head. So I apologize. I forgot that as an 18-year-old I wouldn't know that today. We have had 3 sessions, am I right? Yes. I didn't want to mix myself up here. We've had 3 sessions and we have 3 more to go. So let us take a 5-minute break. My clock says 11:01. Can we reconvene at 11:06? And we will have 3 sessions right after that, the first one being Gloria. So let's reconvene at 06. Thank you. Gloria, can I just ask you a quick question? Are you still here or did you step away? Gloria, since you're right here, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. When you are going to do application sharing, are you application sharing or are you desktop sharing?
I am application sharing and I'm choosing just Evernote. So I'm not sharing my entire desktop.
Okay, that's fine. And when you said you were going to minimize it so that you could resize it, did you actually try that in Collaborate in those few minutes when you and I were talking?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if you tried it, then that's fine. Just do exactly what you were going to do. I had thought that you had to have whatever programs maximized in order for them to show up on the list where you could choose. But if you've already tried it and it worked, then I'm not going to interfere.
Yeah, and well, when I tried it, I had it minimized, and that yellow you know, border that you told me about was around my entire Evernote window.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm assuming that that's what everybody else was going to see.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Cool.
And then you can kind of move that over to like one side of your screen and then like the Collaborate stuff to the other side of the screen, for example. One thing to keep in mind is that if you have anything like running sort of around the outside of your screen, let's say like Jing, if you have Jing running, because you're application sharing just Evernote, if there's anything else like over the top of your Evernote, like Jing, for example, like the little sun, that's going to show up as just as a black box. So move your Evernote or move Jing, you know, whatever you need to move, so that you have only Evernote as the thing that's being captured, and there's nothing sort of around the outside of it. Does that make sense, Gloria?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it'll look good. Right now, if I wanted to give someone else control, is it grayed out because I don't have app sharing open?
Right, exactly. Okay. So right-click, let me just, you know, if you right-clicked on my name, for example, it would be grayed out because we're not application sharing. But once you would be, if you clicked on my name, that would be black again, and then you could give it to me. And it's not because I'm a moderator. You could do that for anybody.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You bet. All right, I think that we are back rolling again, and let us have Gloria begin. I think people are still coming back to their computers, but that is okay. We can just begin, and whenever people are back to their computers, they will be able to hear us. So Gloria, whenever you're ready, you can take the mic.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Gloria, and today I'm going to be presenting on Evernote as a way to organize your digital documents. Now I know as online graduate students we have a lot of documents that we need to organize, and so I'm hoping to share Evernote with you to see if it's something you might want to use. Okay, now here on this screen you're going to see a lot of popular ways that people use to organize, their files and their documents. So if you can grab your highlighter tool and just sort of highlight the programs that you use for your files and to organize your work. And of course, if I don't have something listed, if you could go ahead and type that in or write that in the other bubble. People are loving Dropbox right now. Perfect. Email. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I've emailed myself term papers more than once. Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of us are using some cloud-based systems, not just our laptops and flash drives, but Dropbox and Google Drive. Evernote is also a cloud-based system, and you're going to see a lot of similarities probably between Dropbox and Google, but it's a lot different as well. So hopefully we'll be able to show you some ways that you can use Evernote. Now, with a show of hands, can you let me know if you've heard of Evernote before? So just raise your hand if you've heard of Evernote. Okay, perfect. A few people. Okay, let's put our hands down, and can you raise your hand if you've actually used Evernote before? Okay, great. Okay, so just a few people too, so cool. So this will be new for some of you, that's awesome. So Evernote, so by the end of this presentation, I hope that you will be able to create a note within Evernote, create a notebook within Evernote, create a stacked notebook, add tags to a note, and learn ways to use Evernote as a SLIS student. And these are all Evernote vocabulary that they use within their program, so it'll make sense as we go on. Okay, so Evernote is a free software application. There are two versions, a free one and a premium one. The free one comes with a lot of bells and whistles, and that's actually what we're going to take a look at tonight. So it is compatible across multiple platforms, and it actually syncs across multiple platforms, which is pretty awesome. So if I'm at home on my Windows desktop version and I make myself a to-do list, I can access that on my Android phone when I'm out and about. I can check off things off that list, and it'll update automatically on my desktop at home. So you can make changes from anywhere, and whenever you enter your Evernote account again, those changes will be there, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so we're just going to go over the main elements of Evernote, and it kind of works like a hierarchy. Now I am going to start with the very smallest element that you could put in Evernote, which is called a note. Now a note can be just about anything. It could be a PDF file, it could be a Microsoft Word document, it could be an image, it could be a webcam shot, it could be audio clip, all kinds of things. So it's pretty neat. Now if you have a note, then you will definitely need a notebook. So these are the two things that you will, at the very minimum, have in your Evernote. Now a notebook can contain multiple notes, and typically you want to, organize your notes that are related in some way underneath your notebook. Now, optionally, you can create a stacked notebook, which will have multiple notebooks within it. And again, each of those notebooks can have multiple notes underneath that. A tag is also optional. That's why that's in blue as well. You can tag different notes with different keywords. So if you have a common theme across different documents, then you can look at that tag and pull the notes that have that tag regardless of which notebook they're in. And this will make sense on this next slide because this is how it applies to you. So you can create a stacked notebook, let's say for your semester, spring 2014. And here I have notebooks for each of the classes that I'm taking right now. And then within the notebooks, I have different assignments. So I have my reflection paper. I might have a link to my screencast. I might have an observation report, a PDF of the syllabus over here. And so you can add all kinds of notes underneath each of these notebooks. And they don't necessarily have to be an assignment. It could be, you know, articles that you've read. It could be assignment outlines, anything you want. And the cool thing I wanted to show you is that you can actually tag your different assignments. So let's say you're preparing for your e-portfolio. You can tag your different assignments with the comps that that assignment might work for as evidence for that competency. So when you're working to gather your evidences, you can go back here, see how many tags you have for, you know, Comp K to see if you might need more, or, you know, if you have just enough. So that's a cool way that you can use Evernote to prepare for your e-portfolio. Okay, now we're going to see Evernote in action. So when I open up my app sharing, I'm going to show you a brief overview of Evernote. We're going to create a note together, create a notebook, create a notebook stack, and then add a tag to a note. Okay, so here we go. Okay, there you go. So this is my Evernote Windows desktop screen. And I know there's a lot to take in right now, but we're just going to focus on the few things that we talked about on that previous slide. So I want to direct your attention to the left-hand side. This is going to be your notebook navigation area. Okay, so here I have my stacked notebooks. I have an ePortfolio stacked notebook with different notebooks with my competencies. I have a notebook for fall 2012, and these are the classes that I took during that semester. And once you click on a notebook, you'll notice right next to the notebook, you're going to see in parentheses a number. That number is going to represent how many notes you have within that notebook. In this notebook in particular, I have 3 notes. And this middle part of the screen is going to show you a little snippet of those notes that you have within your notebook. And then if you clicked on the note, you'll actually be able to pull up your notes so you can see exactly what it looks like. So for instance, this one is just a YouTube video. If I click on here, it's a live link. It'll bring me right to that video. This is a strategic plan I was working on. So this is a really cool way to sort of organize and see your notes without having to open it like you would have to do in Dropbox. Okay, right now I'm going to go down to my to-do list. This is actually my default notebook. So you see that little gray arrow over there, that's going to designate this as my default notebook. And I'm going to show you the different types of notes that you'll be able to put in a notebook. So like I said at the very bottom, I have a PDF that I just drag and dropped into my Evernote, and here it appeared. I have a title. I can change it if I want. This next image is of a pizza because pizza is delicious. And so I also drag and dropped the pizza image right into my Evernote so I could see it here. And this is just a link that I just drag and dropped into my Evernote, and this is a live link so I can open it up and go back to this article. So that's pretty cool. Now besides dragging and dropping items into Evernote, you can also create items within Evernote. So these are the different types of notes that you can create. You can create a new note, which is just, you know, text-based. You can create an ink note, an audio note, and a webcam note. And I'm going to show you examples of that. Here's my webcam note, class of 2014. And I also created an audio clip of gibberish, so we're not going to play that. I also created an ink note, so if you're a doodler, you could definitely use this. And over here is just a normal note, just a text-based note. So for this exercise, I thought it would be cool if one of you guys wanted to volunteer and create a note. Any type of note you want, probably maybe like an ink note or a new note, because I'm not sure if an audio or a webcam note is going to work in application sharing. So if you want to raise your hand if you want to volunteer to do that. If not, I could definitely do it myself. Any volunteers? No? Okay. Okay, Pamela, great. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and give you control of a shared application. And so what you'll do is go ahead and grab a note and decide which one you want to do. Perfect. Okay, now as you can see, she's in a new note. There's nothing there. In the middle of the screen, you're going to see an untitled note. That's the note she's working on now. So it's updating as she's typing. Get some rest. That's a great note. That's probably how a lot of us feel right now. Now, Pamela, if you can go up to the top, you see where it says title? Perfect. She can type in a title, and if you'll look at the middle screen, it also is going to update once she gets out of that title box. Perfect. So there you have it. Okay, thank you, Pamela. So I'm going to actually take back control. Thank you very much, Pamela. That was awesome. Okay, so she created a note, and then if you notice, you see that it comes with today's date. So there are multiple attributes that automatically get assigned to notes as you create them. Okay, now this is in my to-do list, but let's say I wanted to put it in another notebook. I don't want it in my default notebook. So what I'm going to have to do is create a new notebook, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So if I go to any of my notebooks, I just right-click, create a new notebook, and let's say I want to name it this class. Okay, LIBR 287. I want it synchronized. I don't want it to be my default notebook, and I don't want it to be a local notebook. So, okay, and there it is. But uh-oh, I don't know where my note went. So I'm going to have to find it. If you go up to all notes, this is going to be a collection of the notes you have across all of your notebooks. And what's nice about this is it's organized however you want. I have it organized by the most recent. So we're going to have the note that Pam created. And to move this over, I'm just going to right-click, move note to my notebook, choose the notebook I want, and go ahead and move it. And so you'll see that in the folder, I now have my one note. Now let's say I wanted to create a stacked notebook. So I kind of don't want it hanging out there on its own. So I'm just going to right-click on it, add to a stack, and I don't really want it on these two stacks. I want to create a new stack. So there you are, a notebook stack, but that name is so boring. So we're going to change that to Spring 2014. There you go. So we created a note, put it in a notebook, and then also created a stacked notebook for it. And one last thing I want to show you guys is how to add tags. And this could be a feature if you're working on your ePortfolio. So just click on the note that you want to add a tag to and click right here. And you can either use a tag that you have previously created, and I'll just do that just to make it easy. And there you are. Voila, you have your tags. A couple of ways to look for your tags. If you go up here under tags, you can choose which tag you want to search by. If you go down here, you can also choose which tags you want to search by, and it'll have, again, that number of notes that are associated with that tag. Since we have a little bit more time, I really want to show you guys this cool feature. I use this a lot for my term papers. Okay, now let's say I have all of these articles that I read and I want to write an essay on emotional intelligence, but I can't remember who wrote that one thing that I really want to include in my paper. And so what I could do is go to all of my notes, and I could type in emotional intelligence, and boom, 47 notes are now pared down to just 5. And these 5 are the ones that have that keyword phrase in it, emotional intelligence. And what's nice about this is it'll highlight that keyword within the note so you can see exactly where Evernote has found that keynote. So that's a really cool thing if you're writing a lot of term papers and it's, getting hard to keep track of, where you read that one thing. So I wanted to show you that real quick. Okay, so we're going to stop our application sharing and make sure that we covered everything that we wanted to cover. Okay, perfect. So we did a brief overview of Evernote, very brief. There are lots of bells and whistles in that program, and it's totally free. So I encourage you guys to take a look at it if you haven't already. Pam helped us create a note. Thank you, Pam. We created a notebook stack, and we learned how to add a tag to a note. Okay, now let's play a little game. Grab your highlighter tool. We are going to highlight that Evernote element. Okay, so if you could, go ahead and highlight the notebook that is the default notebook in this screenshot. Perfect, perfect. Okay, yes, my default notebook is the one with the little gray arrow that we can't even see anymore. Okay, so I'm going to clear that. Okay, can you please highlight this some stacked notebooks? I have a couple of stacked notebooks here. If you could highlight the names of the 2 stacked notebooks. Perfect, perfect. Now, wonderful, thank you guys. Recipes down here is actually just a notebook. A stacked notebook is optional. So let's say you don't necessarily want your notebook to be attached to a stacked notebook. You could just have it hanging out by itself, and that's how we have our recipes notebook down here. So perfect. Okay, and now if you guys can highlight where you might find how many notes are within the notebook. Where might you find that? Those magical numbers. Very good, very good. Yep, just those gray numbers in the parentheses. Very good. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I'm going to clear that. And then I kind of wanted to reinforce the idea of how many different platforms a note could be. So if you could highlight all the different items that can represent a note in Evernote, that would be awesome. Very good. Image, PDF, URL. Perfect. Perfect. Great. Wonderful. All of them. You are right. All of the above. So Evernote is pretty versatile. It's pretty awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And now you can use your pen tool, or if you want to use your type tool. How many notes total are in all of the notebooks? How many notes do we have in LIBR 202? And how many notes do I have in my CompC? I really need to start working on that, don't I? Perfect, 44, 18, and a big fat 0. Okay, and I actually created the ePortfolio stack notebook just to show you guys how you might work, how you might use this if you're preparing for your own portfolio. Okay, and I think I have one last question. There are different types of notes that you can create within Evernote. If you can grab your highlighter tool and highlight the different types of notes that you're able to create within Evernote. Perfect, an audio note. Ink notes are really fun. Very cool. Okay, the one thing we cannot create within Evernote is actually a video note. So as of now, there is no way to create a video note. Although, you know, in the premium version, which I don't know, that could be a possibility. Okay, so before we wrap it up, I want to thank you guys for being such a great audience. Does anybody have any questions about Evernote that they want to ask? Yes, Nick.
How does it look on the phone?
I'm sorry?
I said, how does it look on like a smartphone? How does the interface work with that?
Oh, it looks really good on the smartphone. So, and they have it both for, I think they have it both for Android and iPhone, and I have an Android, so, and it looks good on my phone, so I'm not sure about.
Yeah, that's what I have too. So good to know. Thanks.
Okay, how much storage space do you get? I think for the free version you get 1 GB, and then the premium you get a bunch each month. So I can't recall exactly, but here's their website if you want to jump on there, and it has the different types of platforms that you can use. And oh, good. Okay, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for jumping in there. And you can take a look at that on your own. Okay, great. If there aren't any other questions, thank you guys for being such an awesome audience.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Let's give Gloria a round of applause. And just from an ePort perspective, I would strongly recommend that you have an organizational system like this for your ePort. I use OneNote for all of the same sorts of things that Gloria does. For all of my recipes are in OneNote, and then a lot of my academic stuff is in OneNote, and different parts of my life. So if you, for whatever reason, don't want to use Evernote, OneNote is also very similar, also free, also across platforms. So figure out something where you can put your ePort stuff because it's really, really important. So thank you so much, Gloria. That is really helpful for all sorts of people and purposes. So next we are going to have Judy. And Judy, hold on just a second. Where are you, Judy? There you are. Okay, Judy, whenever you're ready, you can take the mic.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So today, the roles that you guys will be playing will be first years university students who have been assigned to write a 20 to 25 page research paper. Okay, let's get started. So hello students, I hope everybody is doing well. So my name is Judy and I am one of the librarians here. Your professor has informed me that you all have been assigned to write a 20 to 25 page research paper about some aspect of American slavery, and that it would be a good idea to go over some ideas on how to search effectively in our library's catalog. So my role here is to assist you in finding relevant research materials effectively, hence the title, Search Effectively Using Advanced Keyword Search. Okay, so before I start the instruction, I just want to get an idea of how many of you are familiar with using a keyword search or advanced search or both or neither. So if you can, choose a pointer and mark your target. Okay, great. It looks like almost in between. Okay. Or like both, it looks like it. Okay, great. So it seems like the majority are familiar with both types, so maybe this might be a little refresher for you. So let's move on. Okay, so my goal here as an instructor is to help you understand how effective the functions and features of the advanced keyword search is when attempting to obtain relevant search results. So by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand how effective it is using an advanced keyword search, be able to identify the use of Boolean operators and so functions, and be able to use both functions simultaneously in order to refine a search, which should result in more relevant results. Also, on a side note, there's going to be a small activity towards the end of the session that will require you to have your San Jose ID and PIN number. So we'll have that ready. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the first objective of understanding the effectiveness of using an advanced keyword search. So when you think of effectiveness, try and think about benefits. That is, what kind of benefits would you get when conducting an advanced keyword search? For one, it will save you time. Using the function and features of advanced search will help you refine your search, which in turn will help you find more relevant results. It also allows you to be more of an independent information seeker. So it is also perfectly all right to ask for help from a librarian, library staff, friends, or family. So in other words, using an advanced keyword search allows you to refine this search, which we will discuss more later in this later part of this session. Okay, so what other benefits do you think also exist when you conduct an advanced keyword search? You can also use the points I made in the previous slide just to elaborate. So if you can, choose a text box and write your answers on the whiteboard, or write in the chat box as well. I'm sorry. What other benefits are there in conducting an advanced keyword search? You can also elaborate on the ones I made about it being saving you time searching for materials and such. Okay, more relevant results, perfect. Oh, nervous results, perfect. Relevancy, yes. A more focused search on the subject, perfect. Okay, those are great answers. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Okay, so we're on the second objective of being able to identify the use of Boolean operators in field functions. For this section, we're going to talk a bit more in details about the function features of the advanced keyword search. So what exactly are Boolean operators? Why is it important to use when conducting an advanced keyword search? For one, it absolutely helps you, that is the information seeker, to refine a search, which includes helping you broaden, restrict, and/or narrow a search. There are three specific types of Boolean operators: and, or, not. To provide some examples, operator and, let's try to use 3 keywords, and you type those 3 keywords into your search box, and you select operator and when you hit enter, the database itself will search for all 3 keywords. The second operator can also refer to as any of these, meaning when you type in 3 keywords, for example, again, it will search for any of those keywords, so it doesn't have to be all of them. And lastly, for operator not, as it indicates, it's basically none of these. So if you choose one keyword and operator not, it's not going to search for that one keyword. Hopefully this has all made sense. Any questions before I move on? If so, just raise your hand. Okay, great. So when using Boolean operators, it would be highly best to use them in conjunction with the field functions. So one way of thinking fields is the type of fields that exist, such as author, title, subject, publication date, publisher, and more. So to use a popular literature, let's use Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, published in 1998. So Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets would go in the title field, J.K. Rowling would go in the author field, and 1998 would go in the publication date field. Okay, so let's do a quick activity to see if you choose any of them have been discussed so far. So if you can, choose the text box function again and type in the type of Boolean operators that have discussed or the field. And more, or, okay. Excuse me. Okay, I see you guys aren't done writing yet. Okay, author, ISBN perfect. Publication date, yes. Title, absolutely. Okay, looks great. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're on our last objective of understanding the combination use of Boolean operators and field functions in order to refine a search. So being able to understand and identify the combination use of both functions will enable you to search effectively with ease. So what we're going to do next is to do a short group work to show you the type of results that you will receive between a keyword search and advanced keyword search. So if you can, have your SunOZ ID and PIN number ready for this activity. So before I move on to the next slide, I would like you guys to get into 2 groups. So if you can, would you mind raising your hand so I can get like a memory system here? Okay, perfect. Looks like we're missing a few more people here. We're missing 4 more people, but okay.
Judy, just go ahead. Some of those people are logged in twice, so just go ahead. Those bottom people are not necessarily here.
Sure. Okay. So 1 through 6 would do the keyword search, and 6 through 12 would do the advanced search. So hopefully you guys received an email box when I sent to you guys by the Hangout. If you did, can you actually? If you did, can you give me a smiley face? Okay, seems like not everybody received it. Okay, let me see what I can do here. I'll just type it in the search box. Okay. Okay, so what I'm typing right now is for the keyword search. Sorry, my computer is slightly lagging here. Okay. And this next one will be for the advanced search. Okay, so how this SSI is going to work is that each group will conduct either a keyword search or a advanced keyword search. So once it's done, have someone volunteer in your group to enter the answers on the whiteboard. That is the number of hits that you have received conducting the search. So let me load the website first. If it doesn't work here, just copy the link and open it on your own browser. Okay, so I'll give you guys about a minute or two to work on this. Besides that, do anybody else have any questions? Okay, great. Yes, if you like. If it's easy for you, just log in on your own browser, wherever's easy for you. Okay, Kevin, you got 436. That's really a lot. Okay, awesome. 436 again by Gloria. How about anybody from the advanced keyword search? If you're experiencing any trouble doing that part, let me know. Just type in the chat box, please. Oh, okay, so advanced keyword search 29, 39, 29, approximately about the same amount. Okay, perfect. So I'll switch it back to the whiteboard. Okay, so as you may notice, when you're conducting a keyword search using those two keywords, you are getting about over 400 hits. Whereas compared to conducting your advanced keyword search, you're getting only like 39 or 29, which means you don't need to go through like pages and pages of stuff to find one particular article that fits your research topic. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's recap on what we have learned so far. You have been able to understand the effectiveness of using advanced keyword search over a simple keyword search. You have been able to identify the use of Boolean operators and fill functions, and you have been able to understand the combination use of Boolean operators and fill functions in order to refine a search. Okay, that ends my session. You guys have any questions? If you guys do, you can still contact me out of class, either through my Gmail at jchild1988@gmail.com or through my phone number at 213-249-1329. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate your session, and let's give Judy a round of applause. And we are coming upon our last person for tonight, and that is Pamela. Let me give her moderator privileges. Okay, hold on just a second. And whenever you're ready, Pamela, you can take the mic.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for staying so late. I'm going to talk a little bit about ebooks, finding the way forward, look at how ebooks fit into libraries. My intended audience are reluctant library staffers and library students who maybe have not dove into the world of ebooks just yet. It's going to be a bit of a why-to as well as a how-to. So first we'll dive into some of the reasons why I think ebooks are becoming increasingly important for librarians to understand. So welcome to the future. I think if Ray Bradbury were alive, he would really wonder whether or not the internet was going to become a significant factor in the future of libraries. I do hear people that come into our library say things that are pretty disheartening, but at the same time I think a partnership can be found with this new universe of digital technologies, and ebooks are part of that. The learning outcomes I hope to achieve tonight are to help you understand some recent findings about reading and to articulate some of the benefits of ebooks, and have you identify some of the main types of devices that are used for ebooks, and to define digital literacy and provide some examples, and to explain the 3 basic steps in checking out an ebook, so we begin to understand that it's not too difficult of a process, and that as librarians we'll probably be explaining it hundreds of times. So I'll start a little bit to talk about why I say that some librarians are reluctant about books, ebooks. Paper books are still really popular with librarians, and the good news is they are with readers as well. I want to do a little exercise here. If you can take your highlighter, and I created a word cloud about out of some data about why people still like books, and kind of get your feedback of maybe what things about books still appeal to you, as kind of a fun exercise, but also for us to start to think, boy, what is it about maybe ebooks? And we're getting a lot of feeling of holding that book in the hand, that maybe ebooks will begin slowly to start gaining some of these qualities as we go forward. Great, great. So I appreciate you partaking in that exercise, and it's sort of food for thought, more or less. I'm going to clear that and move along. So here's some trends to watch that are a little bit scary. The Pew Charitable Trust released some data in April about ebooks and reading. They're an excellent source for other types of statistics along this lines. Some 42% of adults now own tablets, and that's up from 34% last September. And the percentage of adults who have read an ebook in the past year is now up to 28%, up from 23% in 2013. So we're starting to see this become a big enough of a cultural phenomenon that most good readers are certainly engaged with ebooks, and even sort of your layman readers and casual readers are now becoming interested. So now I step to look at what are some of the benefits. You know, why do people like these things? And some of this is taken from things I've been told. They're fairly easy to use once you do get adjusted to the technology. They're feature rich. You have bookmarking. You have the ability to adjust font and font size. You can get a book 24/7. So you finish something in the middle of the night, go pick another one. They're eco-friendly, and I say privacy. Some of these services have been criticized actually for not protecting your privacy, such as Overdrive. But I mean in the sense if you're on an airplane and you're reading something that you don't want everybody to know about, like the Communist Manifesto, it's relatively private, more so than holding the book. So now I want to talk a little bit about digital literacy, because I think this is the why that we need to start thinking about ebooks. There is a little bit of a misnomer that the born native digital generation are able to do all of these things as soon as they're 5 years old. This Chronicle of Higher Education has an excellent April edition that discusses a little bit about this Fallacy. The title of that article is Confronting the Myth of the Digital Native. What we're seeing is that a few affluent pockets of people who are very digitally literate, and yet others are still learning some of the basic literacy relative to the internet. So these are the kind of people and young people in library settings that I think we can reach out to, help them understand how they might bring ebooks into their learning process, say using e-textbooks and so forth. I'd like to do a little exercise that kind of demonstrates this. We'll go through these 5. If you can grab your pointer tool, for example, you can get the little sun if you like. And then let's begin with surfing the internet and come over to the right and say, what aspect of digital literacy do you think that this activity demonstrates? Well, I'm going to say I like that critical thinking, evaluation, functional skill. It's become definitely a functional skill. Perhaps cultural and social understanding because of what you're reading. So good, appreciate those. And then let's have a look at blogging. I'm going to clear the screen. Where do you think blogging falls into the digital literacy environment? Creativity for sure, effective communication, cultural and social understanding. So it's another tool of digital literacy. And just plain old word processing. Where does, I'm going to clear the page here. Where would you put plain old word processing as a skill that we might teach and learn in libraries these days? I'm going to call it a functional skill, and one that not everybody has mastered, believe it or not. Even some younger people that I run into are still struggling with it. And then I'll clear that one. Gaming, this one's a little more controversial. Where do we see that as falling in? I would argue that gaming would maybe be creativity and possibly, well, not critical thinking, possibly collaboration if you're gaming in a multiplayer environment. So then the 5th and last one that's probably the most important to this discussion is reading an ebook. Where does that fall into the digital literacy realm? Well, I would argue that it is a functional skill because more and more in schools you're going to be receiving your textbooks that way, and certainly promotes cultural and social understanding by opening good people up to new and more information from a book format. I think with a lot of the surfing on the internet, we're kind of falling away from the kind of published materials that can really create effective learning. So thanks for going through that process and thinking through that through a little bit with me. I want to talk about the 3 types of platforms now that we're basically seeing become popularized for interfacing with ebooks. The first generation were these e-readers like the Nook and the Kindle. Paperwipe is very popular. It is something that some librarians think may eventually go by the wayside. Their benefits are that they are inexpensive. I don't have it listed. They're light and energy efficient. And the main examples, as I said, are the Kindle and the Nook, but there are others in the market. And some of the reasons that they've become a little bit perhaps going to be passé at some point are file format issues. For instance, the Amazon uses a proprietary format that doesn't work with all of the ebook vendors at this point. And the Kindle itself doesn't support the EPUB. So these are the kind of things that you're going to get to know as you get delve more into the ebook world as to the specifics of what works with which. But I think a fundamental first thing to get to know from a library patron is what platform are you going to be looking at this on, and an e-reader is still one that's out there. Smartphones and tablets are definitely moving into the market, as we saw a little earlier with the statistics. We're basically seeing at this point, for instance, Access 360, which is Baker and Taylor's platform for ebooks, that only works with tablets and smartphones that can download apps. So that's where the distinction becomes, is that these devices are more expensive, but they can download apps that allow for a more sophisticated and graphically rich experience. And these devices are becoming, like I said, fairly ubiquitous. We now have nearly half the population, I would suppose, by the end of the year are going to own some sort of smartphone or device in which they can download an app to look at an ebook and even interface directly with a library catalog. And also you can read them in the dark, and they are capable of all sorts of different things, as we all know, in addition to just being a device to read an ebook. The last and the fallback would be your good old-fashioned PC. I don't want us to overlook this as a valid platform for interfacing with ebooks, because folks that maybe don't have a smartphone or even an e-reader can still participate in the ebook world. Most many ebooks can be viewed through a browser, so you don't have to have any sort of download. That's important in libraries where maybe downloading content isn't possible. And also a lot of the freeware, like the open access platforms and the public domain ebook platforms, do work well with a good old-fashioned PC. So you see students more and more seeking and having access to textbooks this way. There's a number of initiatives across the country in this area, and Book Boon, I've left a misspelling there, has a great example, if you have an opportunity to visit that website, of free textbooks on all kinds of subjects that you could point people to that want current information. And that's a big advantage of ebooks, is that the information can be kept very current. So now I'd like to take a little bit of time, we have about 8 minutes left, to go through some screenshots of how this works. This is San Francisco Public Library's catalog. I have already performed a search for Circle and Eggers and come up with the record that is attached to an electronic book. And as you can see, most instances you will have an external link. This links us to Access 360, to which you need to go in order to access that particular item. And now I'll move forward. I've done some explanation of 3 basic steps with some sort of intermediary steps involved to get people up and going on these ebooks. First, you visit the library's website or the catalog on a PC or a device if you have the sophisticated device. Then you log on typically with your library card and PIN, so people need to know what that is. Then you look for the ebook or the e-library link. And you can search the catalog for the title, and often the ebook record is there for you to access, as we just saw. And then third, you're going to link to the vendor, Overdrive, 3M, Access. Certainly there's a number of others as well. A good hint here is that you might use the author's last name and one word from the title, because you are doing an additional search sometimes when you do access out to the vendor. For example, this is Access 360's Magic Wall, and we can see this is where I was linked from that other record in the San Francisco Public Library catalog. So I had to search again in order to get into the point where I can check out the book. You'll see some of the other features over here, but this is the Magic Wall, and then the App Zone explains a number of different apps that are available to use with the service. And then you can also browse by subject. Step 2 is to select an available format that works with your device. You're probably going to have conversations with people about devices and formats, so it's a good time to pick up some of that lingo. And then it's as simple as, once you've selected a format, placing it in your cart or a hold, which is common with ebooks because they get long hold lists. And then you check out the item. You will need to potentially sign in again with your library card and PIN. And that's something you have to encourage people to be patient with. For instance, you're going to select a file format here. There's 2 choices, Biblio and EPUB, within the Access 360 platform. And then once you've done that, you can add it to the cart and check out. Here's another instance in which you need to place a hold. So that is only available in one file format because it's an audio book, and that will put you on a list. Here we have a little bit of information about these different apps that are going to be necessarily to download. Most libraries have figured out a pretty good way to communicate this to patrons so that they know what they need to download for their particular device. Blio is a great platform that works with Access 360. It's highly visual, and I'll give you a demonstration of that shortly. So our third step is to select and download an app onto your device, and those were the two choices for Access, but certainly there are others, and you'll have to look into the details for the particular device and the particular platform, vendor platform that's being used. So select an e-reader app appropriate to the device, download the app to your device, and create an account. This is another little step that kind of discourages people, but it's only one time that they have to do that. And then at that point, they're ready to view and access the book on the device. You can also download those apps to other devices so you can move from platform to platform, like my PC to my iPhone if I'm out traveling on the bus. So here is an example in Blio of what it looks like. It's a great little platform. What you'll see is that these are the 4 books I currently have checked out. These 2 I've already downloaded. These 2 are still yet to be downloaded. It takes a minute or 2 to download these when you're ready to view it on a particular app, but certainly not too long. And here's an example of a book that I have currently checked out. You can see how highly visual this is and why it would be real applicable to a textbook type of situation. So now I'm going to go into the San Francisco Public Library site in real time and show you a little bit about how one goes about navigating. They've got it pretty well wired. You can come into the eLibrary link and pop down to eBooks. It gives an explanation of all the different platforms that are available, and certainly it's worthwhile getting familiar with these because Overdrive and Access and 3M are definitely not the only platforms available. And then you can click into Access 360, for instance, and you are within the magic wall, so to speak. One of the nice things that you can do, I like to read nonfiction, is you can immediately narrow this down to nonfiction. Another thing I like to use is recently returned, because I don't always like to be on a hold list, and these are usually ones that are available. Once you get into one of these records, you'll see that there are some nice options. Oops, I think there we go. It's just a little bit of lag there. As far as being able to see when the book is available. There's 2 availables and they own 2 owns, so I know that I'm able to add that. If there is a delay or a hold, there's information over to the right as well about how long it's going to be. And it's a nice, clean, fairly simple interface. People can also browse by subject. And one that I enjoy using, I like to read graphic novels, believe it or not, and they usually have a mix of those available. So that's just a little bit about how it's going to look. You will need to log in again when you go to check out a particular item, and that's something that people will be a little bit complaining about, but just encourage them to plow away, and once these things get set up, it's pretty easy. Well, now I'd like to return to a little review of some of the things we've talked about. Thanks for your patience tonight. I know it's getting late. If you can remember, using the polling feature, which is located over to the left above our list of names, what percentage your check works to of Americans own tablets at this point? I think it's surprisingly high, and I think we all have it right. It is 42%. So we're all diving in, and I'm glad to see it. It's a positive thing in my view once you've gotten a little more familiar with how the technology works. And then what percentage of Americans have read an ebook in the last year? I sort of question the accuracy of this, but I'm not even sure 28% of Americans, I'm going to tell you the answer. Thank you. Good job. Have actually read a book, but people are at least opening them. Whether they're finishing them or not is another question. But it is encouraging literacy. There is some information indicating that people that are good readers in particular are actually reading more due to ebooks. So 28%. Nice fact to kind of throw around if you can remember it, at least for the time being. And digital literacy does not include which of these. This is sort of a giveaway, but collaboration and creativity, e-safety and frustration, cultural and social understanding, effective communication, and ebook savvy. I think that this answer is a little tricky because it's kind of self-explanatory, but e-safety and frustration are clearly not part of it. Well, I'm about to wrap up here. I just have one more question, which is what many people prefer ebooks because. Is it because of how they feel? The possibility of sharing, possibility of posing with a book? Yeah, certainly it's the 24/7 access. And we need to remember that not everybody has time to get down to the library. So this is a reason to support people in the use of ebooks. And then the one last thing is, this is sort of the probably most difficult question. In Baker and Taylor's new system, what are the 2 file formats that, yeah, good job, Darren, you got it. I don't have the $15 Starbucks card, but you get a gold star today. Blio and EPUB is the answer to that, and you'll be hearing more about Access 360, I think, in the next year as more libraries adopt it. Here are some further reading. I really encourage you to stay abreast of the very current materials in this area. They date out quickly. So I have posted this to D2L, and that is something you can explore on your own. And this last month's, April 25th, Chronicle of Higher Education is a great one on digital literacy and the digital campus. I encourage all of you to check that out if you have the opportunity. And thanks for listening today.
Thank you so much, Pamela. Let's give Pamela a round of applause. And we had 6 great presentations this evening, so thank you all so much. I'm going to do a quick application sharing to remind you of how to give your feedback. Do you remember this sheet? It's in our Google Docs, and I sent a message, I believe it was on April 29th, so dig back in your emails. Thank you, Nick. Dig back in your emails for my message in which I explained it, and I also included a screencast, if I'm remembering correctly. And so what you're going to be doing is looking for the people that presented today. So notice Nick, Denise, Kevin, Gloria, Judy, Pamela, right here, day 4. And you're going to go across to the right. And so like if I'm going to be sending feedback for Nick, I would click on that link and it would just open a feedback form like this, and you're going to fill it in this spot right here. Exactly, Nick. The main point here is that you need to be gentle, and I even say that in here. Where did I write that? Be kind and gentle in your feedback, right there. And so what I want you to do is give 2 positive things that the person did, and 1 suggestion, and very diplomatically worded, gentle suggestion for the next time they are teaching. Please word this as a message. This goes right to the person, and so you know, make it personal. Yes, Darren, you do not need to worry about this. I have access to all of these. So the only people who are going to be seeing these feedback messages are the person to whom they are directed, and I will have access. Previously, I had everybody email me them and then CC me, or I'm sorry, email the person and CC me. And so I was getting like 600 messages at the end of the semester in a span of like a week and a half or something like that. So that's why I instituted these Google Forms, just to sort of streamline this process. So far, it seems to be working great. And one little extra enhancement that I'm working on right now is getting an email confirmation of these messages. Exactly. And right now, I'm still kind of working on this script. I have a few little problems in my code, and but I'm working out the kinks, and so soon I will have that ready to go, but it's taking a lot of time to figure out like what exactly is the problem. So right now, you are not going to get an email confirmation, but soon you you will. If you send these in the next, maybe in 3 days, you probably will get an email confirmation, but today I don't have it set up yet. But please just keep track yourself just so that you can, okay, I already clicked on Nick's, so I know that his is done. Now I'm going to click on Denise's and so forth. So the email confirmation really would just be for, your own record keeping. I don't need those because I have access to all of this information through Google Forms. So please go through those, and preferably in the next few days, but at the very latest, the 13th, which is the last day of the semester. Presenters, you need to write your reflection documents and take a look at the assignment sheet for the guidelines for that. I need to have those in the next few days, but the very latest will be the 13th, which is the last day of the semester. So the reason I say the next few days is just so that things are fresh in your mind. Darren, you don't need to have everyone's feedback in order for you to write your reflection, because your reflection is really about your own perspective of how things went. I will have already read your feedback that people gave to you, so you don't need to rehash everything that everybody said because I've already read it. What I want you to do is think about your goals for the session, your intentions for each of the activities, for example, and how you feel like things worked out, how you might have done things differently. If there's something in the feedback that you particularly want to respond to, that's totally fine, but that shouldn't be all of your reflection. I want your perspective, not what other people thought. Okay, if you want to wait for a couple things to come in, that's fine, but I don't just want a summary of what other people said. Okay, and I think that kind of is it. And so keep in mind that we have our next, I'm going to stop this application sharing, our next set of sessions is tomorrow night, and then we have, so today is Monday, we have Tuesday, then Wednesday, then we have a day off on Thursday, which actually works out great. I just remembered that I am on my calendar, I still had Thursday listed as an instruction session night, and I double-checked the schedule, and here discovered that we have off, which works out great because my husband is having his department meeting, party, end-of-the-year department party at our house, and I was thinking I was going to have to sneak away to the upstairs office halfway through the party. Now I don't have to. And then Friday, exactly, and then Friday we have a session that evening, and then Saturday morning is going to be our last one. So anyway, these have been excellent sessions. I appreciate all the time that you're all putting in. And I don't know, Darren, with a bunch of class assists, does that sound like fun or not? I'm not sure. So anyway, have a great night. I'm going to turn off the recording, and if you have questions, please stick around. Otherwise, have a great night, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.